Saturday, April 17, 2010. Anyhow, it's been a week and I am back to working on the car. Little time I have, I don't want to spend it out here every evening, working on the car. Mostly because, that would just become my entire life, and I don't want that to happen. And because this is going to take me forever anyway, so may as well just take my time with it and enjoy the process. So anyhow, I'm back here, and just to quickly recap, let me grab the light here. Last week, I was working inside the car. I got all this sound deadening insulation up from the floor, just so I could inspect and see how bad it was. Because when I first went to look at the car, I saw that hole right there, and then I knew there was some weakness up front there, but I didn't know how bad it was. The hole right here in the middle turned out to be no bigger than I originally saw, and that won't be too bad to patch up. I mean, I just have to clean up the metal from both sides and patch it with some fresh steel. Shouldn't be too bad. And of course, seam seal. I'm a firm believer in seam sealing off all these repairs. Then right down there is where it's really bad. That's where the accelerator should attach to the floor. See the cons? It's kind of hard to see, but I think get the focus. You can see the console there by the floor. Right behind the console, it is all. It does seem to be all solid steel behind there, which is good. But a big portion of the floor here has rotted away, which once again, whenever you're looking at one of these old, I don't know how other cars are, but especially with these old Mercedes, if you see, a little bit of a hole in the floor, count on it being a lot bigger. Mostly because like I said, the insulation inside the car is not going to rust away. The rubber undercoating underneath the car, that's not going to rust away. But I have seen on a couple of occasions now the steel rotting away in between those two layers. So you look and you think you have solid metal, but then you punch right through it because it's just layers of polymers, plastic, rubber, all that sort of thing. So inside here, what I'm going to do is, and it won't be today, probably won't even be anytime really soon, but I'm going to take a wire brush to all the surface rust in here and take that bit of carpeting up, and once that's all as clean as I can get it, coat it with Eastwood rust encapsulator and or Miracle paint. And once that's all good, I'll lay down a fresh layer of primer and paint, and then something over that, maybe some truck bed liner here to re-insulate the floor. Whatever it is, I'm going to be covering it up with carpet, so it doesn't have to look pretty. I just need it to be solid and to seal everything out. And let me show you what I started on just before. I had actually just started working and I realized I forgot the camera inside, so I'll just place the light down here, and see, now I'm working here from the bottom. I mean, this is a good illustration right here. You see this? See these two holes? Well, these were actually completely covered with the factory undercoating. But I noticed there was a little bubble there, so I started poking at it, and and then I took the heat gun and the chisel and knocked off the bubbles in the undercoating there, which looked, if you were looking from a little further away, it would look perfectly solid, but it wasn't, and that's what I came up with, those holes there. You can see the white stuff there is actually the undercoating, and I mean, you gotta hand it to Mercedes. They really did use a quality material here. The only problem is that it was not perfectly impervious, and you do over time a little you get these little cracks, and water gets in, and this is what happens. I mean, and usually you don't discover the problem until you have this much of a hole in your floor. So this is what it is from the bottom here. The jack point actually still seems pretty damn solid. So once I get all the metal patched up, that should still be a usable jack point. Let me see if I can show you the floor underneath here. The car's floor is actually, as far as I can tell, really damn solid from underneath. So I'm not too worried about that. I just have to get all this patched up here. So what I'm doing right now is I scraped away everything from inside the car. Now I'm trying to get away the undercoating from the bottom of the car here. So today I'm just working on what I can get to, and then probably the next time I'm out here I'm going to have to jack up the car, support it on jack stands, get this wheel off, take off this trim piece down here. I think it's chrome, maybe polished aluminum, and then get the fender off, because let me get the light up here and see if I can, yeah. I noticed that along this seam up here the undercoating had cracked, and I started peeling it away a bit, and what do you know, rust. I don't think it's actually rotted through. I think I'm going to be able to just scrape that all down and you know, wire brush it, encapsulate it, and then recoat everything. For now, I'm probably gonna use something like rhino lining to replace the factory undercoating. I've seen people do that with, you know, with these garage restorations, and it works out to be really good stuff, really tough, and more or less when I patch up this car, I want it to be solid and stay solid, and that means keeping the new metal shielded from the elements. And this looks really bad from up here, but if you, especially if you look inside the car and or you go back from a distance, you realize that even though this is a huge hole, it's really just this one area. And you know, patching up one big hole like this is actually a lot easier than than doing a lot of smaller holes, which was a complete pain in the ass when I did the last Mercedes. And I mean, this is going to take me a while, well, somewhere between a while and a long time, but this is what I wanted, a project, and it'll keep me busy. And the longer the car is in the garage here, I don't have to register it or insure it. Just see if I can zoom in on this here. The brown stuff, of course, is rusted metal, and I think the steel is actually relatively solid there, but considering I'm patching this whole thing, when it cutaways, once I have you know, the undercoating cleared away as much as I can, I'm actually probably going to just chop out this whole section even more and replace it, because replacing a larger section is not any more difficult than a smaller section. You can see here where the reason I think this is solid is you see here where the black is, that's actually factory paint or undercoating. So right there, that is solid, and right around it still feels like solid metal. But just to be safe, I'm going to chop out as much of this as I can. I mean, areas like this support beam right here are going to make it a little more difficult, but you know, I'll deal with it. I'll deal with it the best I can. And you can see there's a lot for me to take down here today, and all this flaky stuff just has to go. I mean, if I try to paint and or patch over this, it won't even last a couple of months. So see right there, that's peeling off. But like I said, this factory stuff is tenacious. You see the white stuff there? That's where it's still clinging to clean metal, and right there you just can't pull that off with your hand. So even after 40 years, this is really solid stuff. And well, I don't know what it is. I mean, with these with these 115 chassis cars, I've seen so many of them just completely rotted out that maybe I had originally thought that the rust proofing on these cars wasn't as good as on later cars, but I'm thinking maybe that you know, with the extra 10 to 15 years these cars were around, that it just gave them more time to rot through, and that the undercoating really was no worse than on later generations. But like I said, since this car spent so much time in the south, away from the Rust Belt, I think it's going to be savable. So anyhow, I'm going to get back to work now and get as much of this done today as I can. And I got the indicator here telling me I'm running out of tape, so I guess for the next video I'll start a new tape.